Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today we are beginning our playthrough of 65 squad level combat in the jungles of Vietnam from Flying Pig Games, designed by Marc Walker. I am electing to start with scenario number 2 instead of scenario number 1. Most playthroughs I've seen have started with scenario 1 because it's pretty basic and straightforward. I am going to go with scenario 2. The name of this scenario is By the Belt Buckle. And the description says, the American air power was devastating. The NVA knew that their only chance was to close with the Americans and fight them at a range where their planes could not intercede. On the second day of the Battle of Ai Drang, that is exactly what they did. The length of this is 7 turns. Each turn ends when the 4th end turn card is drawn. Setup. The U.S. sets up first on map 2. 7 rifle squads, 2 M60s, the 3 heroes Riggs, Black, and Dixon. South is their friendly map edge. So I've already set everything up. This is the south map edge. This is the north map edge, which is the Vietnamese map edge. The Viet Cong set up second on map 3. That's this one. They get 9 rifle squads, 4 sappers, 2 RPD machine guns, 1 RPG, and two of their 3 heroes, Fan and Wen, and north, as I said, is their friendly map edge. So building hexes on the maps in this scenario are considered kunai grass. So that would be here, and here, and here, I believe. So it's considered to fill the whole hex. So basically, it looks like this. Okay, so it changes the cover a little bit and line of sight for those hexes. So the Americans can also play 2 fire actions, specifically fire actions. So one of these guys right here, and not flanking fire or moving fire, to call in an artillery strike. And at least one of the fire actions must also be a power action. Okay, so it has to be a fire card that has the word power on it, which the Vietnamese actually have an example of right here. So this is what that would look like. The word power is between the 2 actions, fire and move. Okay. As far as victory points, the Viet Cong need 18 victory points to win. They get 4 victory points for each unit that ends on map 2. They get 2 victory points for each American unit eliminated. They lose a victory point for each of their units that are eliminated. The Americans, if they achieve their special victory conditions, will drop 2 victory points from the Vietnamese total. And if the Viet Cong achieve their special victory condition, they get 4 additional victory points. So I already drew the 4 cards for both sides and their special victory conditions. The Vietnamese one is right here. I'm going to kill until you die from it. And basically it says eliminate 25% more enemy units than you lose. So for example, if 4 of your units are eliminated, you must eliminate 5 enemy units to satisfy this victory condition. Basically, you have to kill units. The American is, you want nice, I can be nice. Reconstitute 1 unit. So reconstitute is if a unit takes a hit that reduces them, their side can play a rally action, which would reconstitute it and build it back to full strength. If the Americans do that during this scenario, they will satisfy that special victory condition. That having been said, we are essentially ready to go. As I said, I already drew all the cards. So these are the 4 cards for the Viet Cong. These are the 4 cards for the U.S. We have our draw deck right here. First thing you do in every turn is determine initiative. Initiative is basically determined by each side picking one of their cards, and the one with the higher value here in the lower left will win initiative. Essentially, this is obviously a scenario where the Vietnamese are going to be the aggressor. The Viet Cong is trying to push into the U.S. sector, get as many of their units on map 2 as possible. Therefore, I feel like they would be a bit more aggressive in trying to get initiative. When you get initiative, the card you play, you lose it. So basically, you start your first impulse in that turn with only 3 cards instead of 4. Every impulse you reload back to 4, but for the first impulse, the team that or the side that wins initiative starts with 3. Having said that, I'm going to use the scrape rally card here for the value of 3 for the Viet Cong. The thinking being scrape basically lets you build a foxhole. Again, they're being the aggressor in this. They're not going to be looking to improve their positions per se. They're trying to move. So their card will be a 3. And the Americans are going to, because they don't necessarily want initiative, they would rather keep all their cards. They've actually got fairly decent cards here. I'm going to use this Sudden Downpour, which is actually from the expanded Kickstarter action deck. It was 12 additional cards, I believe. Sudden Downpour, if you play it and you get a hit on the next card, basically what it does is it reduces visibility to 3 hexes, which is actually to the advantage, obviously, of a defender, probably. Let the attackers get close and then hit them. So that's a -5, which obviously will be lower than a 3, and they're going to lose. So they'll keep their 4 cards, and the Vietnamese will get initiative here in the first impulse, first turn. All right, so they actually have 2 cards that have power. They're fire move cards that actually have a power on it as well. They have 2 of these, so they're going to use one. The Vietnamese units, actually, the powers that they currently possess aren't really useful because they're too far away from the Americans right now. So we're just going to play we're going to play the fire action here, and we're going to fire our we're going to fire this hex at this hex. So that is a distance of, so you count 1, 2, and 3. You don't count the attacking hex, but you do count the target hex. So it's 1, 2, 3. 3 hex distance. Okay, it's a rifle unit and sapper. So at a range of 3 for the rifle unit, there's no adjustment. I have the player aid card right here. So we have a sapper. Range of 3 is a -1, but for rifle it's 0. So that's a total of -1. And we have a 1 and a 2. So that's 3 minus 1 is 2. But we also subtract another 1 for jungle terrain here that the target is in. Now the Vietnamese get 2 when they're in jungle terrain, as you know, kind of reflective of their ability to kind of blend into the jungle better than the Americans could. So overall, our firepower is going to be 1, which means we draw one card. Okay. Now you can see here, we're looking in this box right here, and we're looking for hit. Okay. And it says hit, but it's a red hit. Now, red hit only, again, we have here on our player aid card, you can see here, fire, which is what we're doing, or a hovering helicopter fire, hits on green. Okay, that was red, so that's not a hit, it's a miss. Red works with assault, move and fire from flying or landed helicopters, and that's it. Okay, so we needed a green, they did not get it, that's a red. So we mark them. I'm going to mark the whole hex with fired. I laid them out side by side just so I could see all the units rather than having to pick them up. Okay, so that was a miss. It was a red hit, not a green hit. Okay, so now it's the Americans' turn. All right. So what we will do is we will use our own. Actually, you know what? We're going to play our sudden downpour card. Okay. So this says discard when drawn, draw next card. If hit, downpour begins. Okay. So basically, this is kind of like a free action, and you're taking a shot at making it rain. So we're going to flip the next card. It is a green hit. So now we have a downpour that's going to last throughout the rest of this impulse and basically reduce this line of sight to 3 hexes. Okay. Actually, this is the card I drew. This is a fire card. And I'm actually going to use this card right now. Yeah, I'm going to use the power on this card, and I'm going to activate Dixon's 40 millimeter, which fires the unit and any other unit in the hex that that's with him. Okay. He also has the inspirational ability, which means I can fire one of these units as well. So I am going to do that. So I'm using my power on this card. So we discard it. Okay. So Dixon will be firing. Now, when you use the 40 millimeter, you add 1 high explosive factor to his 1. So that becomes a 2, plus 2 more for this rifle unit and 2 more for the M60 in the adjacent hex. So that's a total of 6. Our range is 3, so that's the max we're going here. All right, so actually my target for this attack will be our RPG unit. We'll try to take out its explosive ability because that adds 2 to the high explosive fire factor for that unit. So we have 6. Our distance is 1, 2, 3. We have a machine gun, which has no terrain, no range effects for fire, and there's no range effects for. Actually, there is 1 for the hero, so that leaves 5. Dixon goes back down to 1. So we have 1 for Dixon, and then 2 for the rifle, and 2 for the machine gun. Gives us 5. We draw 5 cards. 2, 3, 4, 5. And we play them one by one, and we're going, as I said, we're going against the RPG. So we flip the first one. It's blank. That's a miss. Second one, green, hit. So that makes him shaken. You put a shaken on there. Okay, next is nothing, a miss. And then we have another hit. So we take our RPG. Now RPGs can't be reduced, so he's eliminated. So we'll take our shaken out, and our RPG is now out of the game. We put this card back because we didn't need it, and these cards are thrown in our discard pile. And now we move to our next impulse for the Japanese. Wow, I've been playing too many World War II games of late. We move to our next phase for the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong. We draw 2 cards for them. And they draw another fire card without a power and a punishing fire card. Okay, so with this, they can actually fire twice. They do have this rifle unit that's in range of Dixon and our M60 and rifle. So we will use that for this unit. We're going to use punishing fire. Okay, so what punishing fire does is you fire a single eligible unit. Okay, so we do have 1 rifle squad there. Fire twice. The target may retreat between attacks. Okay, now you cannot target a hero if he's in a hex with a unit. So the target is going to be yeah, we'll target the rifle. I was considering the M60, but we're going to target the rifle with our punishing fire. Okay, so we got to count up our factors here. So their HE is 1. Actually, they're not going to be able to do it. And I should have realized this before declaring it. Now, the rule is once you declare it, you can't. If you have to abort it, it's just you lose your turn, essentially. So that is what's going to happen. Because they're in jungle, which is a -1. And the rifle's not close enough. If they had been 1 hex closer, they would get a +1 bonus to the HEF that would make it a 1, which would allow them to attack here. So since that's not the case, they have to abort their attack. That's on me. I screwed that up. Lesson learned. I'm sure that happens in real games between 2 players. I'm not trying to be unfair to the Viet Cong here. That was legitimately a mistake on my part. All right, so we're going to move on, and I'm going to draw the next card for the Americans. We draw a fire card. So with this, oh, I forgot to put, we have a fired here and a fired there. So it's now the Americans' turn, okay? We're going to fire with this hex. At this hex, I'm going to fire at the sappers. I'm going to use a fire card, regular fire card. At first, I was tempted to see if I could use the aim shot, but that only works on a hard target. So that's essentially useless in this particular scenario since we do not have any tanks. So we're playing our fire card. We got 4. They're in kunai because they're in a building, but in this scenario, a building is kunai. So that's a -1. So that leaves 3. So we're going to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And again, we're looking for green hit. First one is a green hit. So that makes them shaken. Second one is another green hit. So they get reduced, and now they are reduced and shaken. And the third one is a yellow hit, which in this instance is nothing. So they are reduced and shaken, and they've also fired, so that covers the whole. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to pile them up now. I know the rifle unit doesn't have any effect, hasn't had any effects on it yet. All right, so we're going to drop a fired on here. Okay, that ends that ends the Americans' impulse. We draw another card for the Vietnamese. They actually drew. That's an interesting one. It's a reaction card. I can move them here. And that's probably the best move because, again, our range is limited to 3 because of the downpour. So this unit won't be able to fire at them, and neither will these because they're too far away. So I'm going to play a move, just a regular move card, and I'm going to move him here. Only because I need to do something that will give him an advantage in terms of fire. And you get a +1 from being close, which will allow him to fire into one of these 2 hexes. Next turn, I'm going to put a moved marker on him. That ends their turn. Now we draw 1 for the American side. Okay, I can fire this guy at my man that just moved here. So I will do that. Okay, so we do have a fire card. You get a +1 for being in the next hex, so that's a 3. And a +1 because he moved, which makes it a 4. And he's in open terrain, so he gets no cover bonus. So 4 cards, and in hindsight, I probably should not have moved that unit. Not only was I afraid of making rules errors in playing this, but also tactical errors, which is something I obviously just did. So first card's a miss. Second card's a hit. So that's going to shake him. Third card also a hit. So he's now shaken and reduced. And the fourth and final card is actually another shake. So he's actually killed, or actually another hit rather. So he's actually destroyed. So we will remove him. And I'll remove the moved marker as well. And now this fired applies to both units in that hex. I could just do like that. These cards get discarded. That ends their impulse. We go back to the Vietnamese. They draw a card. Okay. I think what we'll do here is I just drew a Bloodlust card. Okay, so Bloodlust allows you to rally an eligible unit and not place an ops complete on it. I'm going to use that just to remove the shaken status from my sappers. Okay, so in theory, since they were not marked with a ops complete marker after that rally, I could, in theory, if I get something that would allow me to do something with them that would remove the fired marker, they would then be able to fire. So the Americans will now draw again. I might just pass, only because I don't. Actually, I'm going to discard my fast move card, and I'll end their turn. Because again, I'm playing defense as the U.S. and I don't think they need to do anything. So we're going to draw one for the Vietnamese. We still have not drawn an end turn card. Okay, so they drew a scout that time, and again, we don't really have anything to do. Because of the downpour, I can't fire most of my units, which was the point of playing that as the American side, was to kind of make it difficult to do that. But I could play the scout, and that would enable me to move somebody closer to the Americans and maybe get. And again, now that this has been fired, I actually do have the ability where I can move them to get them closer. So, but you can only move one unit, not a stack, one unit. So, I think we will move our rifle here, which has a movement rating of 3. So we're going to move it 3 hexes. And actually, I could just play a move because this is moving across open terrain. But I don't want to use the move because it has a power on it. So I am going to, in fact, use the scout, even though I don't get any real benefit out of doing it. Unless well, no, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Only to keep him out of the firing range of this rifle unit. So he's here. He gets a moved marker. That ends their impulse. We go to the next American impulse. We flip. And they get a fire card rather, with power. Okay. But, as was the case with the area, so the range is only 3. Which makes it difficult because I can't even use my sniper. Riggs is a sniper, but with a range of 3, he doesn't have any targets in range that he can get to. This guy's just 1 hex too far away. So again, I'm in a situation where I really don't want to do something, essentially. And I have a lot of open terrain here in the middle, which even makes using like scout not that worthwhile unless I wanted to move my unit through jungle. Which I could, but I don't really see the benefit of moving, say, this rifle squad here out. Although I could move this guy. I'm going to do that. I'll take my scout. I'm going to use it. I can move my rifle squad here. And I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 to this kunai grass right here. We'll throw that out. I'll drop a moved marker on there, and we move on to the Vietnamese turn. I guess I can play a move card, but again, if I play that move card, I lose the power with it. I guess I'm going to do that anyway, just to, kind of have something. Or you know what? I'll play this for reinforcements. Because if you play reinforcements, you play this and draw another card. Does not count as an action, so we'll draw another card. And we got fast move. And it adds 1 hex of eligible. You can move 1 hex of eligible units and add 1 to the unit's movement factor. So this is actually useful, and I'm going to play this one. So I am going to say that I will move. I'm going to move this stack here, which has a leader, a rifle squad and sappers, which is the max. That's pretty much the max you can put in one hex, and we're going to move them here. Okay, so we're looking for some assault action probably in turn 2. That's the end of their impulse. We flip the next card. It's still not an end turn card. We have a rally and second wind. So now second wind I can use if I want to fire somebody that's already fired, right? So, and you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to play this second wind, and I'm going to remove the fired marker from this M60. So that's only going to apply to the rifle squad. Now the M60 it's the lead unit in this attack. It's got the suppression ability, so I can fire at this entire hex, and it would be applied equally. But because I'm only going to have a fire factor of 1, I'm just going to, again, go after the sappers and see if I can reshake them. So we draw 1 card, because we have 2. They're in kunai, so they get a -1. So it's 1. We flip the card, and it's a green hit, so they do get shaken again. So that was a worthwhile use of that card. And now I'll just put this fired back, covering both. And that is the end of that impulse. Back to the Viet Cong. And still no end turn. Okay, so they get another fast move card, which is useful for them. And we're going to use it this time to move our RPD here. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, because it adds 1 to his 2. So that makes it a 3. And he's now... So now we have a little bit going on right here, potentially for next turn. And he needs a moved marker. Back to the US turn. And we have a fire, a power, and a fast move. Actually, I'm gonna do a fast move, I think. And I'm gonna move rigs. Okay, so I'm just moving rigs. The rifle unit will stay where it is. And I'm going to move him here. Actually, he can't move there, but he can move 1, 2. He can move here. So Riggs is going to join these guys right here. And they have fired, but he has not. All right, so that will end the Americans' impulse. We flip the next card. And we still have not drawn an end turn. We have a move and fire. Okay, so move and fire is going to be useful here for the Viet Cong. So this allows you to move half of your movement factor and then fire. Now when you fire, in this instance, you're going to look for yellow and red hits. Okay, so we're going to play that. I'm going to take these 2 guys right here, which we have a 4 and a 3. So you half and you round up. So they can move 2, which will put them here. Okay, and now they get to fire as well. Okay, so they will fire here at the at this stack. Yeah, we'll fire at black and the rifle unit. And obviously the rifle unit, because you cannot fire directly at a hero, the rifle unit will be the target. We have a 1 and a 2 is 3. -1 for the Americans being in the jungle leaves 2, so they draw 2 cards. First card, green hit, so we get a shaken. Second card, nothing. So they did shake the rifle. Okay, so that was actually worthwhile. And we drop an ops complete on them. And that's the end of their impulse. So now we go back to the Americans. We get a move and fire for the Americans. I'm going to use this. Or, actually, I'm not going to use I'm going to use the second wind action. And I'm going to remove the fired from this rifle unit. So it has a factor of 2. Unit is next to it. So that becomes another, it adds a 1, and it adds another 1 from having moved. So that becomes a 4. So they're going to draw 4 cards for this attack right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Flip it. That's a hit. So that's 1 hit. I didn't designate who I'm firing at. I guess I will fire at the rifle unit. Actually, no, I'm going to fire at the sappers. So they're shaken. Second one is another hit. So the sappers get reduced. Third one is a red hit, not a hit. And the fourth one is a hit, so they get removed. So that kills the sappers. And the fired goes back over both. Okay. That ends the Americans' impulse. And now we have another card that's not an end turn card. And we have, it was a light wounds. So I'm going to keep that because that's a good reaction card. Yeah, I'm going to play this rally card and remove the shaken from my sappers, and he'll get replaced with an ops complete. Okay, next American's turn. Bloodlust. So that would rally a unit. I do have a shaken unit, and I don't have to put a ops complete on there. So we go back to the Viet Cong, and we get another fire. They don't have anybody that can fire, but we could use the move on here. There's also power, but none of their powers are really worthwhile right now. So we're just going to move. We'll move this hex here, and we'll just go 1, 2, 3. Put a moved marker. Okay. Draw a card for the Americans. Let's get them an unexpected cover. Okay, I can play that in reaction. I guess we'll play fire. We'll play fire on this hex here. Okay, so we're going to use this guy. It has power, but I'm not going to... actually, I will use it. We'll make our rifle squad the lead squad. They have the ability to both use the 40 millimeter and smoke, but we'll use the 40 millimeter, obviously, because that's going to give us an additional +1. So they become a 3, plus black's 1 is 4. So 4 against this hex here, or so we got sapper. All right, so we have rifle and sapper in both. They moved, so did they. We'll go here and we'll go after the sappers. Okay, so we got 4. The range is 2, so they don't get a benefit there because of the downpour. You only get the benefit for adjacency. So that's 4. They moved, so that's a +1. You get a 5. So they get 5 cards here for the sappers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. First one's a hit. So they get a shaken. Second one is also a hit, so they get reduced. Third one is an end turn and a blank, so that's going to go over here. Next one is a red hit, not a hit, and the final one is a green hit, so they are removed. And the shaken goes back here. And you know what? I wonder if I missed an end turn or something. So I'm going to check that right now. Just going to go through these guys and see if I missed. Yep, I did miss one. There's 2. Because it seems like unlikely that we would get this far in. There's 3. And I just totally missed it because they came up in, I wasn't looking at the top half of the card. So we're looking for one more end turn card to actually end this turn. So we go back to the Vietnamese and we flip it over, and it's Recon Patrol. So we're going to use this Recon Patrol, which will let them randomly draw a card from the Americans. There's really no way for me to make it random, so I'm just going to pick one, and I'm going to take the middle one here and get rid of this guy, critical hit. And so then they draw another card. Actually, they don't. That just says it doesn't count as an action. So we can play another action. So we will now play our move card here. I'm going to play a move card, and we'll move Nguyen and the rifle unit up. 1, 2. Actually, I'm going to put them in the same hex with that one. Okay, that will end their phase, and we go back to the American side. They draw 2, so they drew Tactics and Panic and Retreat. So choose a hex, fire with the units in the hex, choose another within 2 hexes, and move the units. So that's interesting. Okay, so I have these 2. Actually, they fired, so I don't have that one. The only one I have is this one. So again, I'm actually going to pass, and I'm going to draw 2 for the Viet Cong. And there's our 4th end turn. So that will end our turn and start turn 2. So for cleanup now, we're going to remove our markers. Actually, let's leave these for a second to make sure we don't want to move anybody else, which I think the Vietnamese will want to move other people. So they will move 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. All right. I know they're in the open, but again, we need to move some guys here. They've lost 4 units so far. A rifle and 2 sappers and an RPG, I believe. Yes, they've lost 4 units in that first turn, so that was not a good turn for them. All right, so now I'm going to remove my markers. I'm going to actually stop here. This went way longer than I thought it would. So this has been turn 1 of the scenario number 2, and I will be back with another video the next day or so covering turn 2, and then I may speed things up and only shoot like periodically and show like various steps of the scenario as I play through, only so that I can finish this one, because I also want to show solo scenario and the other add-ons, the city map and the U.S. Marine Corps and the Australians and New Zealanders. So for now, I'm going to wrap this episode up. I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. Thanks as always for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you would, I would appreciate it. And until next time, happy gaming.